You've read the books. You've said the affirmations. You've meditated, visualized, scripted, aligned your thoughts with your desires. So why does it still feel like nothing is happening? Why does it feel like there's something blocking your manifestations, but you can't quite see it, touch it, or name it? What if it's not your thoughts? It's not the universe ignoring you. It's not because you're unworthy or doing it wrong. What if the real block is something much deeper? Something living inside you, in silence, in the dark. Repressed emotions. Not the ones you cry about, the ones you never cried about. The ones you swallowed to survive, to be strong, to stay in control. That unprocessed anger you never admitted to feeling. That grief you never gave space to breathe. That loneliness that sat in your chest when you smiled in public. The trauma you minimized because you thought you should be over it by now. What no one tells you is this: emotion doesn't disappear just because you've buried it. It vibrates, it signals, it shapes the field around you. And if you're trying to manifest from a place that's incoherent with what you actually feel, the universe listens to your field, not your words. This video isn't about manifesting harder. It's not about fixing yourself. It's not about pretending to feel good so you can attract good things. This is about something far more powerful: the quantum reality of your emotional body. Because if your outer world isn't changing, you may be broadcasting from a wound, even when your mind says you're ready. So today, we're going to uncover why you've been blocked, and how your repressed emotions are not just psychological residue. They are energetic interference patterns, broadcasting frequencies that override your conscious intentions. We'll look at what's happening beneath the surface of your affirmations, what your nervous system is actually telling the quantum field, and how to finally release what you've unknowingly trapped inside, not with effort, but with awareness. Because you don't need to force your manifestations. You just need to stop resisting your truth, and once you do, everything begins to move. Here's what no one explained in those manifestation tutorials. You can't create a new reality while dragging an old vibration behind you. Repressed emotions aren't just psychological baggage. They're electromagnetic imprints, unseen, unhealed, and incredibly powerful. Science already tells us every emotion carries a specific frequency. But what happens when that emotion is buried, never expressed, never acknowledged, just stored? It doesn't go away. It becomes background noise in your field. Like static on a radio station, subtle but strong enough to distort the signal. When you say, "I am abundant," but deep inside, there's an unresolved fear of not having enough. Your body doesn't lie. Your field doesn't lie. Your words may speak abundance, but your frequency speaks anxiety, distrust, survival, and the quantum field responds only to coherence. Think about this. Trying to manifest with buried emotional pain is like trying to call someone on the phone while covering the microphone. They can't hear you clearly, not because the technology is broken, but because your signal is jammed. This is why you can say the right things, follow all the techniques, and still nothing. Because if your internal emotional landscape is incoherent, then the energetic message you send out is fragmented. Let's go deeper. Dr. Joe Dispenza speaks of coherence, the alignment between the heart and the brain. The HeartMath Institute has measured how emotions like gratitude, love, and appreciation create smooth, ordered waves in the heart's electromagnetic field. That's coherence. But emotions like resentment, guilt, or grief, they create chaotic, disordered fields, disruption. Now imagine trying to manifest your dream life while emotionally operating from that disrupted field. You're speaking in one language, words. But your vibration is speaking another: fear, pain, survival. You cannot fake energy, you can only align it. And here's where most people get stuck. They try to override emotion with mindset. They try to bury the pain under positive thinking. They avoid the discomfort because they fear it will swallow them whole. But the truth is this: what you suppress gains power. What you feel dissolves. So, the real work is not to manifest harder. It's to clear the field. And that starts with understanding that your emotional history is not just your past. It's your present vibration. It's what the universe responds to every single time. You don't need to fix yourself. You just need to feel what's never been felt. That's how you restore coherence. That's how you clear the channel. Because when your inner world is finally honest, your outer world finally begins to respond. You might be doing everything right, visualizing, journaling, meditating, listening to frequencies at night, but still, it feels like your desires are floating in a fog, unreachable, unreceived. Why? Because there's a weight you're carrying that you can't see, and chances are you've been carrying it for years. These are the signs, not the dramatic breakdowns, but the subtle distortions in your inner world that hint you're not free yet. Maybe you've been emotionally numb for a long time. You feel safe, but you don't feel alive. Your joy feels muted. Your sadness feels distant. And when people ask how you're doing, you say, "I'm okay." But deep down, you're not even sure what you're feeling anymore. That numbness, it's not peace, it's protection. And beneath that silence is often unprocessed grief, shame, or fear. Maybe you've become addicted to self-improvement, not because you love growing, but because you secretly believe you're still not enough. So you chase knowledge like oxygen, always consuming, rarely integrating. You keep jumping from book to book, practice to practice, teacher to teacher, thinking the next one will finally unlock what's stuck inside you, but no one tells you. What's blocking you isn't a lack of knowledge, it's the emotional energy you've buried, because you were never shown how to safely feel it. Or maybe you're spiritually exhausted. You know the words, you understand the teachings, but nothing feels real anymore. Your connection to the universe feels thin, like a weak signal flickering in and out, like something within you has disconnected from the source. And still, you keep going. You keep doing. You keep manifesting. Because slowing down means feeling, and you're not sure what would rise if you stopped. Here's another one. You over-explain your emotions to make them acceptable. You rationalize your sadness. You intellectualize your pain. Because feeling without explanation feels unsafe, and vulnerability for you has always been a liability. You might also feel like the universe is ignoring you. No signs, no synchronicities, no breakthroughs. Just silence. A part of you wonders, did I do something wrong? Or worse, am I just not meant to have what I want? But the truth isn't that you're being punished. It's that your signal is incoherent, not because you're broken, but because your emotions have not been given a voice. The biggest indicator? You're always in your head. You think about healing more than you actually feel. You've mastered awareness, but lost intimacy with your own body, with your own heart. And maybe you cry, but only when you're alone. Maybe you ache for connection, but you've learned to hide your deepest wounds behind strength, because somewhere along the way you were taught that emotion makes you weak, or worse, makes you unworthy. But here's the truth. Emotion is not weakness. It's the raw language of your field. It's the voice your manifestations actually listen to. And if that voice is filled with old sorrow, buried anger, or unacknowledged longing, that's the frequency you're speaking in, even when your words say otherwise. The way forward isn't more knowledge, it's more feeling. Not chaos, not overwhelm, just enough presence to say, I hear you. To the parts of you that never had a chance to speak. What if your emotions aren't just psychological states, but actual frequencies encoded in your energy field? Let's go beyond self-help for a moment, beyond affirmations, beyond visualizations. Let's talk about the hidden architecture of reality and how your emotions program your signal. Quantum physics reveals something ancient spiritual traditions always knew. Everything is energy, and all energy carries information. Your body, an electromagnetic transmitter. Your heart. According to research by the HeartMath Institute, it generates the most powerful rhythmic magnetic field in your body, radiating far beyond your skin, influencing everything around you. But here's the key. That field carries your emotional state. Not your thoughts, not your intentions, your feelings. Every unresolved emotion, shame, guilt, grief, fear, leaves a distortion in your field, a vibrational static. It scrambles your signal. That's why no amount of positive thinking can override emotional incoherence, because the universe isn't listening to your words, it's listening to your waveform. David Hawkins called this the map of consciousness. It measures the frequency of emotions from dense, contracting states like shame, 20 Hz, and guilt, 30 Hz, to expansive states like love, 500 Hz, and peace, 600 Hz. And guess what? You manifest from the frequency you inhabit, not the one you wish for. So if you're trying to manifest abundance but still carrying shame about receiving, your signal says, block. If you're visualizing love but secretly fear intimacy, your field emits, stay away. This isn't judgment, it's physics. Here's another layer. When you repress emotion, it doesn't disappear, it freezes in the nervous system. Peter Levine, the pioneer of somatic experiencing, describes trauma as energy that was mobilized for survival but never completed. That energy stays lodged in the body and gets encoded in your quantum field as resistance. That resistance becomes your blueprint, not because you chose it, but because you didn't know it was still running in the background. Emotion is energy in motion, but when you suppress it, it becomes energy in resistance. And that resistance, that static in your signal, creates delays, blocks, confusion in the manifestation process. So when people say, you're not manifesting because you're not aligned, what they really mean is, there's a mismatch between your conscious desire and your unconscious frequency. And that mismatch often comes from unfelt emotion. This is why feeling is healing isn't just a poetic idea, it's a literal tuning of your signal. When you allow yourself to feel, not to indulge, not to collapse, but to witness, you restore coherence in the field. And when coherence is restored, manifestation becomes natural again, not forced, not chased, but received. Let's talk about something most spiritual teachers won't say out loud. Because in the pursuit of light, we've learned to run from the dark. In the name of healing, we've become experts at bypassing the very wounds we came here to alchemize. You've probably heard it before, just stay high vibe. Be positive and let it go. Don't focus on the negative, you'll attract more of it. But here's the shadow truth. That kind of spirituality doesn't liberate you. It imprisons you behind a mask. This is what's called spiritual bypassing, using spiritual ideas to avoid uncomfortable emotions. Gratitude becomes a weapon. You feel lonely, but shame yourself. I should be grateful. You feel angry, but suppress it. I'm supposed to be enlightened. You feel lost, but you don't allow yourself to admit it. If I vibrate confusion, I'll manifest more confusion. You silence your truth in favor of performance. You start policing your emotions like a spiritual cop, smiling outside, dying inside. And here's the danger. When you chronically deny how you feel, you disconnect from your actual vibration and start broadcasting a distorted one. The universe doesn't respond to what you pretend to feel. It responds to your real field. Even if it's painful, even if it's messy, you weren't meant to transcend your emotions. You were meant to alchemize them. You weren't here to escape your humanity. You were here to spiritualize it. So let's make something clear. Feeling sadness doesn't lower your vibration. Ignoring it does. Suppressing it does. Faking joy does. Authenticity is alignment. When you give yourself permission to feel, you activate the raw material for real transformation. Your tears aren't detours, they're doorways. This is not about romanticizing pain, it's about reclaiming your power inside of it. Because the truth is, you don't manifest from perfection. You manifest from presence, and presence includes every part of you, even the ones you were taught to hide. Now that you've seen the cost of repressing emotion and the illusion of bypassing pain, the question becomes, how do I release what's been buried for so long? The answer isn't in forcing it out. It's in creating a sacred space where what's hidden feels safe enough to rise. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about facing yourself gently, honestly, consistently. Let's begin here. Presence over suppression. Start noticing what you feel without needing to explain it. When grief rises, don't narrate it. When anger tightens your jaw, don't analyze it. When shame contracts your chest, don't try to figure it out, just be there. In the same way a parent would sit beside a crying child, with presence, without judgment, without fixing. Next, come into your body. Your mind is where stories spin, but your body? It's where truth lives. Begin body scanning. Feel your hands, your belly, your legs. Ask yourself, where am I holding something that hasn't had permission to move? Sometimes it's a tremble. Sometimes it's a breath that shakes. Sometimes it's a sound stuck in the throat. Don't stop it. That's not weakness, that's release. These subtle sensations are how your nervous system unfreezes. Let them. Silence is a technology here. Create space without distraction. No phone, no noise, no goal, just you and the field. When you're quiet enough, what's buried starts whispering back. And in this field of silence, expression becomes sacred again. Let your breath speak. Let your body move. Let your voice hum or sigh or tremble. You don't need words. Emotion doesn't need language, it needs allowance. This is the place where transformation begins, not in the performance of healing, but in the private moments no one sees, when you finally let yourself feel what's real. And here's the final layer, spiritual reparenting. Talk to yourself like someone worthy of care. Be the loving witness your younger self never had. Hold yourself not to change, but to remember who you are beneath the pain. Every time you do this, you're shifting from ego to soul, from force to flow, from contraction to coherence. You're not trying to get rid of your pain. You're creating a home safe enough for it to dissolve. This is where the real quantum shift begins. When you allow yourself to feel again, fully, deeply, without shame, something quiet but monumental happens inside you. The world softens, but more importantly, you soften. You stop chasing outcomes, and they start finding you. You stop trying to control people, situations, timelines, because now the war inside you has ended. And when there's peace within, there's harmony around. You begin to feel lighter, not because life is suddenly easy, but because the emotional weight that was buried for years is no longer yours to carry. Decisions feel clearer. You no longer need 10 affirmations to act. Your intuition becomes louder than your doubt. You'll notice your relationships shifting. The ones built on obligation begin to fade. The ones built on resonance begin to flourish. This isn't magic, it's alignment. Manifestation becomes less about vision boards and mantras, and more about congruence between your inner and outer worlds. You're no longer pretending to be positive. You are peace. You're no longer faking gratitude. You feel grateful. Your nervous system stops anticipating danger. It begins expecting goodness. You'll start to recognize when something feels right, not because it's safe or predictable, but because it matches your new frequency. You'll see that what once triggered you now teaches you, that what once drained you no longer enters your field. This is the shift. You don't need to become someone else. You only need to become again who you were before the world told you to suppress your truth. In this state of emotional coherence, you don't just speak to the universe and you resonate with it, and it answers back. With synchronicities, with people, with opportunities, with peace. You were never disconnected. You were never broken. You were never blocked by lack of effort or lack of worth. You were simply waiting for this moment to come home to what you've always felt, but never fully trusted, that your emotions are not in the way. They are the way. They are the sacred technology of your soul, designed not to disrupt your manifestation, but to fine-tune it. When you stop resisting your inner world, the outer world begins to realign itself, and what once felt like struggle becomes a gentle unfolding. So let go of the idea that you need to hustle for your healing. You don't need to prove your readiness to the universe. You only need to feel your readiness, deeply, completely, without apology. Because when you do, life doesn't just respond, it remembers you, it remembers your frequency, your intention, your soul's signature. And it comes to meet you. If something in this message stirred something ancient within you, it wasn't by accident. This is the part where you choose to trust. Not me, not this video, but the field within you that always knew the way. So breathe, feel, let it move. And if you'd like to stay close to this kind of wisdom, you're invited, no pressure, to subscribe and keep walking this path with us, because you're not alone, not anymore.